Cory Fawcett had a health scare, and it served as a wake-up call in more ways than one. He had racked up a debt load of $500,000, and Cory knew if he died, he would leave his wife with a burden she could never pay off.
By October of 1988, Cory Fawcett finished medical school carrying $18,000 of student loan debt. He started his medical residency, married his fiancée, Carolyn, and then 2 weeks later,
I called her in the morning and I told her that I had atrial fibrillation, I'm in the intensive care unit.
I was a little concerned about, what would happen if he should pass away.
People can have this and live a normal life. That event created a lot more trauma in her than me.
Cory and Carolyn moved forward and started their married life together. Now that Cory was collecting a salary, the couple discussed tithing.
I knew about tithing, but I kind of thought it was for people that had their life all together.
He wasn't sure that he had enough money to continue tithing, but I wanted to tithe.
Cory was only willing to give 2% of his income to their church.
I didn't really think that us beginners who just got our first job were supposed to be tithing.
However, over time, the Fawcetts moved up to tithing 10% of Cory's income.
I was amazed that it seemed fine.
We weren't having any problem living on his income. We had everything we needed.
Within 6 months, Carolyn landed a job as a corporate accountant. The Fawcetts decided to put Carolyn's salary in savings and continue living solely on Cory's income.
We could save for the future, have a nicer life later on.
By 1993, Cory finished his residency with only $6,000 left in student debt. His next step was to become an attending surgeon. Life for the Fawcetts changed dramatically.
Cory's salary went up about 4 or 5 times what he was making.
Over the next few years, we bought a house, a motorhome. I bought into my practice. We bought a piece of property that we were going to build a house on. And within about 3 years, we went from $6,000 in debt to around $500,000 in debt.
Although Cory was making enough money to support his family comfortably, Carolyn was becoming more and more concerned over the increasing amount of debt they were racking up.
I wasn't sure why my wife was so concerned about the debt. As far as I was concerned, we could easily make the payments, so what's the big deal?
Even though Cory had only one AFib event several years earlier, their debt brought back renewed fears for his health and their livelihood.
It was very concerning that he could die and I would be responsible to repay the $500,000. And we did not have $500,000 in savings.
At a loss for what to do, Carolyn took her concerns to God.
I prayed about how we could get out of debt and ran across an advertisement for a book of how to get out of debt and showed it to my husband.
And in there, it said that we could be debt-free in just a few years if we decided to. $500,000, that just didn't make any sense, but the math worked out.
We stopped a lot of our savings and funneled the money toward the debt, knocked off one debt at a time.
In 3.5 years, the Fawcetts paid off $500,000 in debt.
Becoming debt-free was very freeing.
All through this period when we were getting out of debt, we did not stop tithing because it belongs to God.
Then in 2004, when a tsunami hit Indonesia, the Fawcetts wrote a check in support of those who were devastated by the storm. Within 2 hours of writing the check,
somebody who I had loaned money to wanted to pay off the loan. And then I went to work, and sitting on my desk was a check from an investment that I had made as a physician. I had received 30% more than I gave away. And I got goosebumps.
That was really exciting how the Lord gave us back way more than we had given.
Today, Carolyn and Cory enjoy teaching others how to become financially successful. They believe their faithful giving to God through the years has changed their lives for the better.
When we tithe, it shows God that we love Him.
90% of your income plus God is always better than 100% of your income without God. Giving changes your life.
It's a principle we call the Law Reciprocity, and it's laid down by Jesus in Luke chapter 6, verse 38. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Now, these are the words of Jesus. And when he speaks, he's talking about the laws of the kingdom of heaven, how things work in heaven. And here on earth, sometimes we think, well, when I have enough money, I'll give. But that's not the principle. The principle is give, put it into motion, and then it will be given back to you. And then he adds to it. The measure you use determines the measure that will be measured back to you. So for Cory and Carolyn, here they are, and Cory's saying, well, you know, I've got this great income, so let's go out and get a whole bunch of consumer debt. Let's buy the big house and the cars and everything, and we'll just pay it off over time. And then he has a health scare, and suddenly they're looking at, well, what if you're not here? How does all this get paid off? And that's another principle. I encourage people, please live within your income. So there's a thing called the 80-10-10 rule, where you live on 80% of your income. You avoid consumer debt, you just avoid it altogether. Now, there is mortgage debt, but the good thing about mortgage debt, if you run into trouble, you can always sell the house, pay off the mortgage. Now you got to find a new place to live, but at least you're not in debt. But if you are living on 80% of your income, then you have plenty of room for a 10% tithe. And here's the piece a lot of people miss is, are you paying yourself? What are you working for? If you're not paying yourself, if you're not putting 10% of your income into savings, then you're not building for your future. That 10% over time is a game changer for you. Imagine 10% of your yearly income going into stable investments. What happens in 5 years? What happens in 10 years? What happens in 15 years? What happens in 20 years? Then instead of your money going out in interest payments, well, you're actually getting interest payments coming into you. You're having your money work for you. These are wonderful principles, and these are principles that Jesus laid down. He said, these are the rules of the kingdom. If you give 10%, the measure you used will be measured back to you. Now, if you want to start doing that, give us a call, 1-800-700-7000. This isn't some get-rich-quick scheme, anything like that. This is something where if you live life consistently on God's principles, then he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. If you want to start doing that, join the 700 Club. How much is it? Well, it's just $20 a month. That breaks out to 65 cents a day. Some of you can join at higher levels, and so we have them for you. $40 a month is 700 Club Gold. 1,000 Club is $1,000 a year. That's $84 a month. 2,500 Club is $2,500 a year. Founder, $5,000 or more a year. At whatever level, call us and say, yes, you can count on me. If you want to see the gospel preached around the world, join the 700 Club. A portion of every gift goes into the work of CBN's international outreaches. We're now in over 100 countries, over 70 languages. We want to preach the gospel around the world. You're a part of that. Another portion goes into the work of Operation Blessing to help people, to feed people in America, to respond to disasters in America and around the world, to provide drinking water for people who don't have it, to provide surgeries for people who don't have the funds to pay for doctors. You're a part of all that Operation Blessing does when you join the 700 Club. Now, if you call and join, pledge right now, 1-800-700-7000. It's our gift to you, the nearness of heaven. Wonderful discussion between Ashley and me about stories of people who have died and gone to heaven. But then more importantly, this isn't something about the sweet by and by, what awaits you when you die. This is to convince you that the kingdom of heaven can be near to you. That's what Jesus taught, that we would pray that God's will would be done on earth as it is in heaven. We can actually bring his laws and his dominion down on earth. And so this teaching will encourage your faith that this is not something that's going to happen after you die. You can have his presence and his kingdom with you right now. And then at the close of this, Ashley and I pray for you. So this will encourage your faith. I want you to have it. It's yours when you join. Give us a call right now, 1-800-700-7000.